Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex-wife that my fiancée is pregnant? My ex-wife Carly, 39-year-old female, and I, 40-year-old male, got divorced 10 years ago. We had been married for 4 years, together for a total of 9 years. About 2 years into our marriage, we started trying to a baby, but no luck. We went to fertility doctors after the first year of trying, and the doctor said there isn't anything wrong with either of us. We continued trying, but still no luck. Around the 1.5-year mark of trying, a co-worker of Carly's got in contact with me to tell me he had been sleeping with her and didn't know she was married. I confronted her about it, and she didn't deny it. She said the pressure of trying to conceive was making her depressed, and the co-worker was a welcome distraction. She said the affair was about 5 months. I thought about staying with her and giving it another chance, but I really couldn't even stand looking at her. Being near her made me sick, and I didn't want to be with someone who turns to someone else when they're having a hard time. So we got a divorce. I took a job in another city and moved. I met my now fiancée, Mary, 3 years ago. I proposed to her a year ago, and we found out we're expecting 5 months ago. I don't use social media much, but Mary does quite a bit. She posted photos of her bump and the sonogram on her Instagram and Facebook. Carly either heard from someone in my hometown or saw Mary's posts, but she called me. She called with a number I didn't have saved, so I didn't know it was her and picked up. She started off nice and was just asking how I was. She then asked why I didn't just call her and tell her myself, so she wouldn't have to find out from someone else. I asked her why it's any of her business, and it started a bit of an argument. She hung up after a while. Our mutual friends said I should have told her because it was very hard on her, that we weren't able to conceive when we tried, and it can't be easy for her watching me have a baby with someone else. If I'm being honest, I don't see why I had to reach out to tell her that. We got divorced a decade ago. We don't live in the same city, so it's not like she'll have to bump into Mary and I. We're not friends. Our marriage ended very badly. Am I missing something here? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top of advices. So let me get this straight. She's your ex-wife. She cheated on you. You divorced. You don't want to talk to her anymore. And you had no news from her. And you're supposed to tell her that your fiancée is pregnant. Either I missed that part, or, as I think, it's none of her business at all. Not the a-hole, and tell her to pound sand. And to stop stalking your fiancé on social medias. It's creepy as heck. To me, him contacting after so many years just to tell her his partner is pregnant would have been petty. Like she's living rent-free in his head after all this time. Dude moved on and up. Yeah, I mean, I would have thought he would be the after hours if he had rang up and told her. Would be like rubbing it in her face. She obviously still hasn't moved on. It's been 10 years. If my ex-husband called me 10 years after our divorce to tell me he had a child with someone else, when we couldn't, I would assume it was both malicious and creepy. Why would I care what my ex-husband is doing after 10 years? If he had called to tell her, she would have said it was to rub it in her face. This was a lose-lose situation, where at least in the current one, he's not the a-hole. OP did nothing wrong, and the ex is delusional. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for punching my sister's fiancé? So I realize that title doesn't sound appealing, but hear me out. I, 32-year-old male, and my wife, 33-year-old female, have an 8-year-old daughter who is phenomenal and I adore her, and she has always enjoyed spending time with my sister, 25-year-old female. Let's call her Clara, fake name, and she's engaged to her fiancé, 27-year-old male, Howard, fake name. So my wife and I were planning a trip to Honduras to see her grandmother because she is sadly ill, and her wish was to see her granddaughter, and my wife wanted me to come for support. We wanted our daughter to come, but she hates planes and refuses to even step foot in an airport, so I asked my sister if she could come and watch her. She said yes, but Howard wasn't too happy about it, so I told them we'd be gone a week, and I'd pay them when we returned. Unfortunately, my wife's grandmother wasn't doing any better and her health was getting worse. So the only thing keeping my wife happy was our daughter, who we called every day the first 2 days she was happy and was saying how much fun she was having with Clara. But then on the third day, she wasn't very talkative, but we just assumed she was just tired. The fourth day, she didn't even answer a FaceTime call, so I called Clara to find out what was going on. She claimed that my daughter was simply exhausted from all the fun they had been having. I didn't really buy it, but I decided to disregard it. Now on the fifth day, when I called my daughter, we heard yelling, so my wife called her friend Sarah to get our daughter and the police involved. We returned right away after explaining the situation to her family, who were very understanding, and as soon as we returned, we went to Sarah's house. Howard was yelling while playing Xbox, and it scared her, so she dropped a plate. But Howard got upset and told her to clean it up and drag her away from the camera. After we landed, we headed straight to Sarah, to which we saw our daughter, and she ran towards us crying and just holding us both. After a while, she let go and explained everything. So around the third day, Howard started yelling at her to clean or be quiet, and he wouldn't let her eat dinner because we spoiled her. And Clara was just letting it happen, telling her that she has to understand if she ever wanted a boyfriend. I was horrified, because who says that to an 8-year-old? When the cops arrived, they couldn't do much because everything appeared to be in order. But because my daughter wanted to go with Sarah, they allowed Sarah to take her. So I thanked Sarah, and we drove home. When we arrived at our house, my daughter immediately went to her room while holding my wife's in my hands and said she wanted to sleep with all of us. I kissed her forehead and said I had to take care of some business and looked sad. But my wife held her and said, "Don't worry, Daddy will be right back." And that's why I love that women, she always know what I'm thinking. I drove to Clara's house and knocked on her door. She answered looking surprised, but before she could say anything, I forced my way inside and saw Howard drinking a beer. And he looked at me and said, "The screw you want." I asked him why he treated my daughter that way, and he said that she needed to know how the real world works. When I called him an idiot for even saying that, he got up and walked towards me, thinking I'd be intimidated because he was taller. For context, I'm 5'8", and he's 6'2", but I've always been small my entire life, and I never fight fair, so when he tried talking down on me, I punched him in the stomachs. So hard, he actually fell to his knees gasping for air, and after a little while he started throwing up. Before I could do anything else, my sister stepped in between us and began yelling at me to get out. But before I left, I told her she was dead to me, and they would never see my kid again. The next day, I got so many calls and texts from my family saying I could have handled the situation better, and Howard is in the hospital because he apparently can't breathe correctly, so now I'm wondering if I was in the wrong. But my wife and her family say I wasn't at all wrong, but I keep thinking could have handled the situation better. So now I'm thinking I might be the a-hole. Now for the advices. The guy had it coming. Your sister, unfortunately, is a tool, and Howard is gonna use her up and throw her out once he had enough of her. It is best to stay no contact with her, because she won't have your daughter's safety in mind, especially with Howard running her life. Howard needed to learn how the real world works, not the a-hole. Ever notice that people who want to teach kids how the real world works are always justifying shitty behavior? Story 3. I'm afraid to sleep with my nephew again. Hi everyone, I just want to say that English is not my first language, so sorry if I make some mistakes. I, 15-year-old female, have 5 nephews, 13, 10, 9, 6, and 3-year-old male, from my older sister, 37-year-old female. We have an age gap of 22 years because my mom and dad were in their late 40. When they had me, I wasn't planned. Now, on to the story. I'm currently on vacation with my sister, her husband, and my nephews in a camping. I sleep in a tent with my 3 older nephews. On the left sleeps my 9-year-old nephew. Then there is me, the 13-year-old and the 10-year-old. This story is about the 13-year-old one, who we'll call Ray. Ray is a few inches taller than me. He's strong and has some anger issues. But he never hit me or anything because we're almost the same age, so we get along pretty well. The first 2 nights everything went fine, but the 3rd night I woke up feeling like something was touching my arm. I turned around and it was Ray. I asked what's wrong, but he quickly removed his hand and closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. I was confused, but I brushed it off, thinking I imagined it. I was wrong. The next night it happened again and more than once. I would feel someone touching my arm, my leg, even my chest. I wear an undershirt as pajamas because I got a little sunburn on my back. Every time I got more and more scared that he would hurt me, so I made sure to move or tell him what's wrong. In order to make him stop, each time he pretended to be asleep. But I catched him looking at me to see if I was awake. I tried to cover myself with blankets so that he couldn't touch my legs or my chest anymore. But he touches my arm or my hand instead. Yesterday night was the 5th night here at the camping, and it was the worst night of my life. I was wearing a hoodie, 2 blankets, and I made sure to be as far as I could to him. right next to my 9-year-old nephew, and to face him, so I could see what he was doing. When I fell asleep, everything was normal. Then I woke up to something touching my chest. I forgot to zip on my hoodie. I moved, and so did he. I zipped up my hoodie and covered myself with the blankets. My heart was racing, my nerves were tense, and I was scared. He tried to touch my hand, but again I moved. Things got quiet for a bit, but then I noticed that his blanket was moving. He was touching himself. I was disgusted and horrified at the thought that he was thinking of me. I froze and stayed still until he got up and went to the bathroom. I grabbed my phone and checked the time. It was 3:20 a.m., so I figured I woke up around 3 a.m. I held my phone in case I needed to call help. I heard his steps outside the tent, so I pretended to be asleep. He tried to touch my hand again, but eventually went back to sleep. I was too scared to close my eyes, but around 4 a.m. I went back to sleep. At 8:10 a.m. I woke up. I was hot, so I took my blanket and put them between me and Ray. He was apparently awake, cause he touched my leg that wasn't covered by the blanket anymore. I had enough. I moved, he pretended to be asleep. So I grabbed my phone in my bag and went to my sister's house because I was tired to be scared. Now we're at the beach playing Uno all together. But I can't not think about this. Tonight I plan to ask my 9-year-old nephew to sleep with me with the excuse of the cold, so there is someone between us. If he does that again, I plan to confront him and tell my sister, because this isn't a normal behavior. I don't want to tell my sister yet, maybe because a part of me hopes that it's all a misunderstanding and that he'll stop. I don't really know why I'm so scared. I just needed to tell someone this. Now for the updates. Update 1. Hi again. I'm sorry for the wait, but I tried to read all of your comments and I thought much in those hours. Now I know what to do. I'm still at the beach, but as soon as we arrive at the camping, I'm planning to tell my sister and maybe my brother-in-law. He probably needs to look after the 3-year-old and tell everything to her. I'm scared as hell. I didn't really know what to do at first, so that's why I posted here on Reddit. I never thought something like this would happen to me, and I read some comments that said I'm a troll. I get that this seems like some made-up story. I wish it was, but unfortunately it's not. I'm giving you guys an update as soon as I can, and I want to thank all of you for your support and advice. Update 2. Hi everyone, sorry for the wait. Here is the update. So when we all came home from the beach, I waited to be alone with my sister. It was hard, and as I spoke, I began to tear up. I told her everything. My sister hugged me and told me that I should have told her right away the first night, and that Ray was gross. Then my brother-in-law arrived and my sister told him. They were shocked and speechless. They just looked in each other's eyes and told me that they'll speak to Ray. I took a shower, and when I went back, though the house, in the camping, the showers and the houses are separate. They were sitting at the table with Ray. He was normal. He was not crying or yelling. Then my brother-in-law told him to go take a shower. Of course, he denied everything. I told again what happened to my sister and her husband, and they're on my side. Me and Ray don't speak to each other. I didn't even look at him. Tonight I will sleep in the house with my 6 and 3-year-old nephews, which I'm totally fine with. That's pretty much all that happened. Now I feel more safe, and I don't have to be scared when I go to sleep. I want to clarify some things. First, we didn't sleep in the same bed. Everyone had their mattress, but we all put them close one to another. We've had lots of sleepover before, and there has never been a problem. So I didn't have an issue sharing a tent with my nephews. But now I will not sleep in the same room as Ray again. My sister and her husband are good people. They try their best every day, and I don't blame them for what happened. I don't think he ever did something to his siblings, and I hope he never will. When I came home from the vacation, I'll tell my mom. I still don't know how, but I will, and my sister will be there. I want to suggest therapy for my nephew to my sister and her husband, but first I want things to cool down a bit. I also want to thank all of you for the advice and different opinions. Some of you told me about their personal stories, and I'm really sorry that you've been through something as horrible as this or worse. I really wish you all the best. Story 4. Update. My 43-year-old male, girlfriend, 36-year-old female, asked to open the relationship, and I just pointed her to the door. Original post. So like the title says, my 43-year-old male, girlfriend, 36-year-old female, asked that we open the relationship, and I just pointed her to the door. It was too much. I strongly believe that in a monogamous relationship, when someone asks to open it, well, is because that person saw something else out there, and is ready to try it instead of working in the relationship. Basically is blindsiding his or her partner. So I have being with Fran, 36, over the last 2 years and a half, almost 2 as a couple. I thought that things were moving smoothly and was about to ask her to move in at the beginning of April. But lately she was acting rather distant, so I decided to wait a little and watch. I was cheated on the past, so I'm a little cautious with some signs. Out of nowhere this last Friday, she asked me to open the relationship. She gave me all her big speech, and when she ended her presentation, I asked her if she has someone in mind. Because it's not like we decided today and basically going out with other persons tomorrow. Basically, I trick her into telling me what I already knew, and yet she has someone in mind, which means to me that either she already did it or she has all set up. So I got up, walk around the apartment while she was trying to sell that this could be good for both us and our relationship. By the time she ended talking, I hand her one of my sport bags with all her stuff in it and tell her to left the spare key over the table on her way out, that we are done and she knows why. Then I went to the couch and turned on the TV, just trying to look indifferent and save face. She was speechless for a while, about to cry. But before she couldn't say something, I tell her that I didn't want to talk about anything and she should leave. As soon as she left, I felt like crap, so unworthy, cried a little, and as right now I'm still mourning. My phone is going almost nuclear with all the calls and text I received from friends of both sides about my extreme reaction over her simple request. Don't know what she told them. So now I'm sitting wondering if I really went overboard, and at the same time fighting the urge to run back to her. Because deep inside, even knowing my feelings for her are still there, the trust is gone, and I'm not gonna spend all my time watching her movements. Is not healthy. Maybe in time. Really don't know. Before anyone pointed out, yes I know, my reaction is pure reflection of me, not what she did or was about to do, or could do. So did I went overboard? No, for the top of comments before reading the update. You were very nice to her considering what she did. Anyone who says any different is no friend of yours. It's not like I think I did wrong, but some of my friends are trying to patch things up because they care and telling me that I was too extreme if the hope of we could find a way back. So even it sounds silly asking perspective from unknown people helps. Now for the updates. First update. First of all, thanks for all the replies and upvotes. It never crossed my mind that this post would have this much attention. I just write it to put order in my ideas and vent a little, and with the hope a few people told me if I went overboard. But I didn't expected the amount of replies I got, so many thanks to all for that. Some people pointed that maybe I went overboard, that maybe she wasn't aware of my position on the subject. I replied to some, but there were too many comments to get back to all. So to clarify, maybe a year back approx, we had a couple of friends in a similar situation. And for like a month that was the main theme of conversation on our group of friends. And every time I said that for me is a big no, and if one person in a relationship need to be with other persons, well, she or he should leave. About the friends trying to mend things up, well, they weren't totally aware of the situation. Yesterday after I posted here, and with my ideas more defined, went to see a group of them, and told them my point. All of them agree with me at different levels. Some of them wanted to let it go. Others wanted to burn her at the stake. Of course, a few girls in the group pointed that I could do things in a better way, and also there was a few question about if could consider give her another chance. But for me, the main issue is not feelings. I know that I love her, but the trust is gone, and I don't find myself wondering all the time what is she up to. After I left, my friends talked to other persons that weren't there, and basically the waters have calmed. If you are wondering what is she doing, really don't know. I got a few texts from her, but haven't read them yet, and don't think I will do it soon. Anyway, I know it's not much, but this is all I got for now. Final update. Hello to every stranger interested in how things ended. I wasn't much on the idea about posting any other update, but some people have been asking, so here it is. Finally, after listening to various friends and some Reddit users, I talked to her, just to sort things out. Last Friday we meet at our regular place where we take coffee. At the distance, she looked great. So great that I just wanted to say screw it and drag her back to my place. It took a lot of restraining to not do it. When I got close to her, I noticed her sadness, and she still has her eyes irritated from crying. We sat, and before she could say a word, I asked her to tell me the entire story, and that please don't let anything out of it. That I needed. And then I would ask her a few things, and also needed all the true. The story is pretty basic. Around 2 months before she asked for the open relationship, on her girls' dancing night out, they meet this exotic good-looking guy. During the first month, he was the new flavor that all the singles friends on the group were trying out, which leads to girl taking and sharing experiences. Eventually, this guy, that was having his way with all the girls around him, set his eyes on Fran and begun to flirt with her, taking her to dance floor having fun. Well, here is when she shoulder stopped things, because we had an agreement with Dancing Night that she would stay away from any guy, because we guys are pigs, and it's pretty rare that a guy just wanna dance. Anyway, because of the excitement, she went for it, enjoyed the attention of this guy, and had a great time dancing. Looking at the timeline, this was around the time I noticed that Fran was distant. Moving forward a few weeks, her friends were sharing more intimate stories about this guy, and that got into her mind. She found herself fantasizing doing it with him. Also, he was trying to make a move on her too. But from what she told me, she didn't went for it because she was with me. Drinks and drunken friends are bad counselors. And once the idea of open the relationship came out, they were over 2 weeks chatting about how to convince me that because long time ago, I had threesomes and also swinged a little, I should be off with the idea of open the relationship. But threesomes and swinging are things you do as a couple and out of the pure excitement. At least for me, and was a long time ago, early 20s. All this lead to the day she asked to open the relationship. She told me that she and her friends never thought that I would end the relationship in the moment, that the worst scenario would be me getting angry and saying no. So there is no big deal in just asking. At this point, I interrupt her and tell her that she should know better. We were together over 2 years and always share my thought about everything with her. She agrees. At this point, I explained to her that I didn't break up with her for the question. I did it because there was already a guy. So for me, that was a major trust issue. If this was some concern that came out natural, maybe we could have worked it out. In the worst scenario, maybe we could found it an alternative. But the way things were was an alert for me. We went around of the topic for a while, and then I began to question her. Basically, I asked if she was intimate with him at some point. She said she wasn't. If she developed some feelings for him. No, she didn't, and lastly, if she has seen this guy again. And that was also a no. Even if that is not much, that was a small relief. But I explained to her that I can't go back to her. I need to close this for my own health. Also, I told her that we share a lot of friends, and I don't want to lose any of them because of this, and wouldn't be fair to ask them to choose. So we can behave like adults and keep things friendly. If my friends take one side, is because they want it, not because I asked them to. She said how sorry she is, that if she could, would undo everything. But she knew it can't be done. She was about to cry, I was also too. So it was a good moment to ask for the check and leave. I walked her to her car, opened the door for her, just in habit of mine, and she started to cry. I couldn't help and hug her. We stood there about 10 minutes. When she calmed, she got into her car and drove. I was at shock, went home, grabbed my camping gear, and drove to the mount and spent it all the weekend there to clear my mind. Early this morning, I was driving back to the city, and at the moment my phone grabbed signal, it got flooded with messages from friends and family, all worried because basically I disappeared without telling anybody. I text back to everyone telling that I was okay, that went out camping, and at the moment was driving to work. Also, I got a text from her, something on the lines that she feels that we are not over yet, and that she thinks I need time to leave all this behind me, and she will wait in the hope of it. I haven't texted her back because I'm pretty sure I'm done. But experience has taught me to never say never. So for now, I'm gonna take easy, doing what I like, and see where things take me. Well, that's it. Thanks all for your support and advice. That's all for today. If you are enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you.